I think, Terry, it was filmed in 1952, so it was a kind of an old movie then, but for some reason that was the first time I'd ever seen it, but I bet I've watched it a dozen times since then. And I know Richard is probably talking about Shane right now. But anyway, just want to say I've known Richard for about 50 years, and I couldn't ask for a better brother-in-law.
I'll say something. My name's Ed Stutzman, and I'm not going to tell a story on him. I met Dick when I went to work for Fieldstown Randolph. And I didn't know anybody there. I was a stranger. It took about 3 days till I had a friend. And we had a lot in common. Kids baseball, and other sports. And we became friends. I haven't seen him for years, but you never, ever forget a friend like that. I call him the H guy. He was honest, hardworking, honorable, humorous, sometimes rather dry, and a really, really good guy. And for Rick, I'll say this. I met you once or twice, but I knew you very, very well because your dad spoke a lot of you.
Anybody else? Okay. Oh, Chloe, yes.
Whenever the word came out to remember a story about Richard, I got to thinking. I told Alice I couldn't think of one. We were trying to think of one the other night. Couldn't think of one, then I remembered one, and I remembered the year, and I'll tell you why in a second. In 2011, Alice and I are at the Tulsa State Fair, and we're wandering around. Well, we go around the corner, and we bumped into Richard and Daisy. And so Richard and I, hello, how's it going? Daisy and Alice hug, and they start talking. And they were talking. And they kept talking. So Richard and I, we had already solved the world problems, and I remember it was 2011 because we talked a lot about the Cardinals. I think they went on and won the World Series. In late September, they were in a big pennant race, so we talked a lot about that. That's one of the things we had in common. Both him and I watch the box scores every day when it comes to the Cardinals. We may not always agree on OU, OSU, but we always agree on the Cardinals. So Daisy and Alice kept talking. And so Richard and I, we'd finished, and we didn't know when this conversation was going to end because it had been going on about 7 or 8 minutes. We didn't even know what they were talking about. So I kind of eased over to Alice and I said, honey, we probably need to go on. I'm talking to Aunt Daisy, don't worry about it. Okay. So a couple more minutes goes by, so Richard and I are talking some more, and we've actually about run out of stuff to talk about. So I slide over and I go, hey, honey, I want to go have the pineapple whip. Well, apparently pineapple whip is a key word. Maybe because it's a sweet, I don't know, and he loves sweets from whatever. And his eyes kind of perked up, and Alice goes, I'll be with you in a minute. And I looked at him and go, that's your side of the family. He goes, yeah, I'm afraid so. I'm guilty. So anyway, he taught me a lesson that day, though. We couldn't get him to stop talking. It probably went a good 10 minutes or more. So he said, he taps me on the shoulder and he says, watch this. So we walk, he said, follow me, actually, is what he said. So we walk around. We start walking. We're now about 3 booths down on this aisle. And Daisy turns and starts following. So then Alice turns and starts following. And we're walking down there, and we're walking. And we get to the end of the aisle, and Richard turns to me out of left field without telling me anything. He shakes my hand and said, well, it was really good seeing you, Floyd. Really glad to see you. You know, I hope to see you again. Da-da-da-da. You know, and I knew then I had to go left, and he went right. So he was just there, and Alice followed me. It was perfect. I was like, boy, it was really nice to see that and everything. I realized what he did from that point. He had a way of doing that with Daisy, and you just had to kind of see it. Totally wrong. I think the biggest thing is that I remember in some of the other words was he was very genuine. And you know, when you think about it, 58 years of marriage is a very rare thing in this world today. You know, marriage is on the decline, and you have to learn something from that. You know, it used to be that politicians would honor those marriages and they'd send certificates in the mail and stuff like that. They don't do that anymore, which is sad. But it's such a rare thing with that in decline and all the stuff going on. So not only was he genuine, he was honest. And the other thing that people haven't mentioned is when he talked to you, he talked to you. You were the focus. I remember at many family reunions, he didn't care who was on his left or right. He wanted to know about you, and he was focused on that. And that was probably the biggest thing I remember. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Now my dad Rick is going to pay tribute to his parents.
Okay, can everybody hear back there? Oh, crap. Well, I'll do my best to get through this. I think I can. I've practiced a lot. First, I want to say a special thank you to my War Department for helping through all this because I stink at it. And really, you know, my take on this is really, who am I? I am my parents. For both of them, they were children of the Depression, and that means they were very thrifty. You know, some of the stories I can remember is, you know, going to the grocery store as a kid and just going through, okay, we need a can of corn. Okay, we got a 13 cent, we got a 12, got a 20, got 11 cent. Hell, we got a winner, 11 cents, save again. That's what I was taught, and you know, that's me. They would shop forever for a purchase. If you ever knew them, it's if they're going to buy, particularly if it's a car, it's a refrigerator, you know, that's going to, it's like, well, how many people within a 50-mile radius sell those things? We're going to check them all out. You know, actually, I do it too. I just do it on a computer, so I'm just the high-tech version. As you know, my mom was the coupon queen. She would always use coupons for everything. And, you know, I think I learned from that, and I use them too, but I'm an amateur compared to her. Dad taught me to save all, whatever you have extra bolts and screws and nuts and nails, you know, save them all. You never know when you might need them. And you know what? He was right. And I've still got a pile of them in my garage. Mom saved everything. We're learning that every day. She taught me to save old socks, T-shirts, and various other clothes to use as rags. And it does come in handy, especially, you know, when you use like old underwear for changing oil in the car, although that can be a bit embarrassing. My dad, Lord knows he was a sports nut, and that is definitely me. He taught me all the fundamentals of all types of sports. He taught me the etiquette of golf, including the art of cussing at bad shots. Launching a 7-iron into the bushes after yet another crappy shot. He loved all types of sports. Okay, not so much soccer. He was a music lover. He loved his music. Saw that as we set up his room. It's incredible. Thank you, Guy. He's supplied him with lots of music, and I consider myself one too. Coffee hound, I think, is the best way to call him. And I am to an extent. We both love our coffee. But wow, that man did love his job. You know, but you know, I think I was telling someone, I'm pretty sure that he never drank coffee between the hours of 2 and 4 in the morning, unless he was awake. You know, I think I learned, and Tara kind of alluded to this, that, you know, he probably was a little OCD. Very precise, and you stole my thunder. I mean, my thing was, have you ever watched him eat a sandwich? It was incredible. It was like a machine. But, you know, it was a form of patience, and you know, I saw that when he fixed things in cars. He was just very methodical, and I learned a lot from that. I picked up some of that. Dad was a history buff. He loved to read military books, watch the History Channel, Discovery Channel, watch all kinds of music, that type of stuff, and I'm definitely the same way. Dad had a quick temper. For those of you that knew him as a young man, maybe not so much, you know, in the later years, but let me tell you, driving to my grandparents in Arkansas, especially in the 60s, you know, he really enjoyed driving 30 miles an hour behind a beat-up truck for 20 miles in the mountains with no places to pass. Yeah, he was real happy. Now, some may say I may have some of those same tendencies, but I just don't see it. Mom, you know, she liked to do things well. You know, she was hesitant about trying new things, like driving and computers. But, you know, when she locked in on something, you know, she was really very good at it. And I'm more like this than most know. Mom had an incredible memory. My goodness. I mean, she could remember the most obscure facts. And I do too. I find that mine's more sports oriented, hers was family. You know, I mean, I bet you 99% of the people here, she knew your birthday, she knew your anniversary, she knew when you were going to the doctor if you told her, and she probably would remind you. She was super organized, and I consider myself to be that way, and I think that's probably where I got that. And she kept incredible records. And let me tell you, it has made our job that much easier to go through and figure things out. Mom was stubborn. She would stick by her guns, and she definitely enjoyed a good argument. And usually her argument ended with something along the lines of, just saying. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is me too. And, you know, one thing we actually talked fairly recently is said, you know what, let's face it, Google's killed the arguments. Because, you know, I even taught her to say, okay, let's just Google it up. There's no point in arguing about it. You know, lastly, yeah, let's call it, she was cheap. Okay, she's economical. You know, and frankly, I really am too, but let me tell you, Darlene is helping me to overcome this problem. I'm trying. They both had high expectations of me, and school was very important, and I was going to go to college no matter what. To them, somehow, just going to college was magically going to be the ticket to stardom. Probably not always the case, but it was the right decision for me. You know, not very often did they get mad at me to my face, but I do want to share three times that just stick out. That it was like a little bit more like Uber mad. In junior high school, I was playing baseball. I struck out. That didn't happen a whole lot, but I did this time. And I was kind of acting like a baby, threw the bat, started pouting, sat down. Dad come up right in front of everybody and just kicked the fire out of me and said, don't ever do that again. With one of my partners in crime who is here today, Chris Sanders. It was in the summer after our sophomore year when, for whatever reason, we thought it was a great idea with some other friends to stay out to about well after 2 a.m. in the morning without calling home. And I'm pretty sure we were supposed to be in far earlier than that. Now, this is 1974. There are no cell phones. There wasn't even pagers. And so we just kind of come up with like, I have no idea what we were thinking, but let me tell you, Mom and Dad were very, very unhappy campers. What I really remember on top of that, my dad and I were supposed to play golf the next day. That didn't happen. You know, the other thing is kind of interesting. My senior year of high school, I don't know when, and for whatever stupid reason, you know, I said I was thinking about just getting a job, not going to college. And Mom and Dad, and probably particularly Dad, went off, and I quickly realized that was not going to be an option. I don't know what they would have done, and I didn't want to find out. So, so really, you know, what's to me those, you know, the lessons to that is be respectful and do the right thing. Good. Good times. Great memories. parents, thanks.